Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, concerts that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and the cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
On this episode, I'm chatting with Jay Bones from the legendary South African ska punk band Fuzigish. It doesn't matter if you've been a fan of the band for the last 25 years or you're a new fan, you're going to love this episode. So, without further ado, let's get on with the show.
We like to destroy, we like to create, make a lot of problems, then fix our mistakes. We take everything just to throw it away. We must rotate, destroy and create. This is what I know. This is what I know.
J Bones, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
It's great to be here.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant to have you. I'm delighted to have the legendary Fuzigish on the podcast.
Well, yeah, it's yeah, I mean, legendary. I think in South Africa, and hopefully and hopefully spreading around. Yeah.
Exactly. That's that never seems to stop being the goal of a band, no matter how well known they are. They always want to spread further, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, and you're hoping. I mean, that people talk and the word of mouth gets out there, and as slowly we find out that people that listen to us a lot, in South Africa, then moved on to other parts of the world and spread the word or the music.
That sounds, I have to say now, that sounds a little bit like, you're training some sort of private army. Here, listen to our music and disperse around the world. Spread it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just like, the, as we'd call it, the skankers union, or, going out there and spreading the word. And I mean, word of mouth is the best. I'm very kind of suspicious of anything that's kind of, advertised or marketed. So yeah, that's the way we just, in the music, there's subliminal messages that go out to everybody.
Yeah. Brilliant. So we opened the show with your song "This Is What I Know." It's off your latest release. Would you like to tell us a bit about it?
Sure thing. So it's one of my favorite songs on the new album. Basically, I'm not sure, it's a little bit different for us, but I liked it just because of that. And it's got like a kind of a more of a hardcore feel in the beginning, and it kind of goes off into this very melodic, the melodic kind of build and bridge. I don't know, something about it that I like, the fact that because we've known as a kind of more ska punk band, it's a bit different in that sense, and the way that the guitar and the trombone, Big Willie on the trombone, kind of build the tension. I really like that, and the more I think I know, the less I know. But this is the real truth. But I think it's really about lyrically, like kind of the balance of your yin and your yang, or your light and shade, so to speak, and how they kind of work together. And a lot of the album, I think, is about that kind of stuff, about balance.
Yeah, it's a great track. I'd have to agree, it's one of my favorites off the track as well. It really is a good one. It's your first album since, I know you released a live album in 2020, but it's your first studio album since Crazy Friends in 2013. Why was the time right now? Why did you release it now?
Well, I'm trying to think about that now. But, we released a lot of albums early, like there were 2000s, a whole bunch of albums through early 2000s, and then after Crazy Friends, we were intended to carry on recording, but we had 5 albums, and when we were playing shows, like it was, the set list was pretty full, and there was no urgency to basically record. So it was always a case of, yeah, we're going to record, like we'll do another album next year, and this kind of carried on for a while. And then Rockwell, bass player, he got chatting to Warren, and they seemed to kind of connect, and suddenly there was this Warren was, he had the label Mongrel, and they were chatting, and suddenly there was hey, we can do an album with them. And there was that kind of, oh, this is great, this is almost like a direction, like, oh, this is a reason, this is a good this. And then the whole COVID pandemic came down on us, and it was like, this is perfect timing, because now, instead of playing live, we can focus on recording, putting out an album. So it was really great. It was perfect timing from that point of view, and it was kind of like we needed to put out something, because it had been, like 2013. So it was like, okay, this is time to do it. Yeah, I think to be honest, it was just amazing putting out the first album. I remember it was like, wow, this is like, to think of putting out now the 6th album. wow, we're going to do this. We're going to, put out a sixth album. It's going to be great. Let's do this. And we've got the time to do it now. Yeah. And to see where we were, exactly how, what, it was a bit of a unknown, like what are we going to come up with?
yeah, I get you.
Hopefully it resembles something of, but it did, and it does. But it also feels like we kind of progressed a bit with it.
Yeah, definitely. And what was the whole recording process? I know you mentioned you had plenty of time, so there was obviously no urgency or panic to rush into it. What was the recording process like for it?
Usually it would have been a case of kind of, at least for the first 4 albums, I'd kind of come up with ideas and then kind of take it to the band, and you like thrash them out in the band room, and you kind of, it's quite grueling, and like you have patience is required, and you're all in there busy trying to, at the same stage, and that was kind of, I guess, more like the traditional kind of way of writing the songs. So with this now, it was, we couldn't really, we could obviously Zoom or Skype or whatever, but we couldn't hang out in a band room together initially. And for me, that was like, luckily I had set up a studio, a home studio that I can work with, that had all the necessary tools to be able to put the demos together in my own space and time, and then send them off to everybody, and they would give me honest feedback, because luckily we've been together long enough so that we can do that. And it was great for me, because I could just go for it, and not have those kind of in the band room busy, like, can you do this, can you try this? And so it was like a very kind of, from that point of view, it was great. And I'd send out the stuff, and then we wrote like about 20 tracks, and everybody kind of gave their opinions on stuff, and said, no, this track that you sent out now, this is for your solo album. Or this is for something. But generally it was like, I think everybody else, I was like very nervous about doing it like this. I was like, I want everybody to feel like they're don't want anybody to feel like, oh man, I wish I could, I want to put some stuff or ideas down and I'm not getting heard. But everybody was like, oh no, this is great. Like, you go for it. So I would put down, like, say, like trombone on like a key on the keys, but obviously I can't play trombone, and I don't know all what you can exactly, all the different techniques you can use. And I'd give that to Big Willie, our trombonist, and he would like come back with this kind of the main kind of theme, but he'd have added a whole bunch of other elements and idea, just made it much richer.
Yeah.
So it was great to send out this stuff and then to get stuff back with everybody like putting their expertise into it.
Yeah,
and it was really cool. And me and Willie would hang out a lot and go through that many sessions on Zoom, busy kind of going through this stuff, and then saying, hey, this is what we're thinking, and then the other guys would come back, and it worked out really well for us. I mean, I don't know if it's every band would enjoy it, but it was a great way for us to write. So when we got to the songs, and then we had a guy, Matthew Fink. He came in to record it and produce, and he was like the producer. And he came in early as well and listened to the demos and got an idea of where we were heading, So from that, it was really cool, like to have, because we do normally go to a studio and there'd be like not really. I mean, they just want to record great songs, but they haven't been invested before, almost in pre-production. So this is. He was there listening to the stuff, getting some ideas, and when everybody was happy and we thought we had the 12 songs that we wanted, then we went to the studio.
Yeah. And I've an interesting one for you now. How early in the process can you see if a song, or tell if a song is going to be a hit? Are you kind of like, when you're writing it, you're like, oh yeah, this has something now, people are going to love this, or are you more so kind of oblivious to it and you just wait until it's released?
For myself, I normally find that like, as like kind of primary songwriter, I won't know. To be
Right.
honest, I'll think it's cool, and I'll put it, and then or I'll think it's not a throwaway, and then usually what'll happen is the other guys will say, no, that's cool, or no, that's they'll kind of in a roundabout way kind of say, nah, not really, but because I think they kind of like, oh, I like them all, I've got an idea, I think this is a really cool idea, put it down, and it's kind of strange like that, because sometimes I'll think something is really not okay, it's like, they've got this thing and this, and they'll be, no, that's a cool one, we need to go with that, and that happened a few times, so I'm kind of a little bit oblivious to it. You're just throwing out ideas and things that you think of. You like come in like there. I suddenly have this idea, because I usually find it works like I'll be like, really been thinking about groovy hard rock riffs, and how like you could put like a horn line on top of that, and how would you do that, and then try to figure that out. And sometimes I don't tell people where the inspiration could be coming from, because it might scare them.
Right.
So, yeah, I've been thinking about like I've been listening to a lot of disco lately, like, and they're like looking at me like, oh my gosh, where are we going with this? Don't worry, guys, we're not going to turn into disco.
Glad to hear it. That'd be very interesting.
So exactly. So that's why I generally keep those things to myself.
Yeah, it might be for the best.
Yeah, but a lot of the time, if you're really with punk rock or whatever, any genre, say if you're really invested in it and you've been in it a lot of time, you can't really see, so you have to go out of it and then bring those kind of influences back into it. I think, and that really helps you kind of motivate yourself, or to find some new kind of life or different angles.
Yeah, I getcha. And one thing I've been dying to ask you is, normally with bands, their first album would be self-titled, but you guys waited until 25 years later to release a self-titled album. What's the story with that?
Well, it was like, I think there was a title going around, and nobody could agree on it, that specific title at the time. So, and then I thought to myself, I was thinking, like, listening to it, and I thought that this album, it felt like it was very, it had all the elements that we've had through the 25 years, like, but yet it also sounded new, and it was kind of like almost like a combination of all these things coming together, and not sounding like anybody else. So it felt like I threw it out there, and it just felt like the right thing to do. It was, and basically, I just felt like this is the after 25 years, this is the Fuzigish sound, and also for the lack of just saying, hey, like we had a name, and it was we couldn't all agree on it, so we're just gonna go with this one.
Right.
Or we could do like, Fuzigish 6 or Fuzigish 7, like,
Yeah.
I can see why bands do that.
Yeah. I wonder if that's what happened with the Beatles' White Album, maybe.
You probably find there's a lot of, or like the Metallica, like the Black Album, whatever. Hey,
Yeah.
I mean, no name, is it black, or I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it kind of was put it this way, it was a name or not a name that we could all agree on.
Right. Oh, we'll dive into your history now for a while to give the listeners a sense of where you came from. Can you remember your very first musical memory?
Oh, sure. Probably. I got two really kind of. Yeah, I got. It was talking about the first, like, if it was a show or something that I went to see. I remember as a kid, like really young, being by 10 or 8 or something like this, going to to watch David Essex, who came to South Africa.
Right.
I think my mom or my father really liked him. And at that stage, I think it was also a case of like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you any of his tunes right now. I just remember there was a mirror ball. Back to disco. No, don't worry about the disco thing. There was a mirror ball, and I remember the whole event and just the what it was like to be at a concert and stuff. But as far as like my first like real kind of like wow moment like with music, I started doing guitar lessons when I was about 14 or 13 or 14, I think. And in the beginning, it was pretty cool. I had this guitar teacher who showed me like a lot of folky stuff with chords, and you could play it, and it was fun at the point. But I wanted something else, and then he got another guy called Charles to come and teach as well. And Charles was like a metalhead, and I thought, wow, this guy. So I was just thought Charles was like basically the best. And he convinced me to get an electric guitar, and he played in a band, a local thrash metal band called Odyssey.
Oh.
I was about 16 at the time, and they were playing on a weeknight at this club called Alcatraz, which is like I didn't know really much about it, but it was supposedly that really kind of, how would you say, heavy crowd that hang out at Alcatraz, and it's like not really where everybody would hang out. But I convinced my mom to let my older brother, take me there.
Right.
To go watch Charles, my guitar teacher, in the band Odyssey. And I just remember going down these stairs into this like basement, and then there was this metal band, thrash metal band, going for it, and people diving everywhere and jumping around. And I was like, wow, that was, I clearly remember that. It was very kind of, went home and started, trying to get all those moves together. So thanks, Charles. It was good. And so that would be like a really, I guess, early memory.
Yeah. And would you point to that memory then and say that's what made you want to be a musician?
No, I don't know if that was it, and I don't even know what made me want to be a musician. It's hard to say. I think there was always music around the house. Older brother, older sister, and father, who also had a huge vinyl collection. I mean, I can credit them for some good taste and for some bad taste. And but at least it was always around. And I think it was like later in school, like in high school, on the side, I just wasn't. I was into sports and stuff, but by that stage, when I got to about 16 or so, I just I heard bands that are like the Pixies or something, and I just responded to that and was like, oh no, this is a different way to go. And I don't know the necessarily like, I think it was something to do with just finding a different thing, another way, like besides being on the sports or whatever. It's really hard to say what actually convinced me to pursue music, but I did. And once I got into it, I just
That's the main thing anyway, that you did, and thankfully you've kept at it.
Yeah.
But what steps, once you decided then, what steps did you take to putting the band together? Was it easy to find like-minded people?
Nah, it was pretty tricky actually. I just I had a friend who was always talking about getting drums, and so I had to convince him to buy a drum set. I finally convinced him, and then it was like that typical case of go around with I got the guitar and you got the drums. Now what? I don't know. You do this, and I'll do this. Drive everybody else around you insane. You think it's great. It was hard to find those people, I guess. But I remember having endless jams with people and just whoever would show up, and play, and eventually starting to figure out, okay, and then eventually getting like a kind of four guys together that didn't really matter what they were into. They played instruments, and that, you know, the guitars and bass and a drum, and then playing at a friend's party, you know, and doing whatever you can to play. And then half the party kind of being, yeah, this is cool, and the other half of the party going, blah, they're hating it, you know. Putting yourself out there, because, you know, you really like you put yourself out there into these kind of you know, obviously you get up on stage and you make a big noise. So it's like, yeah, that was like, so yeah, it was a lot of fumbling around early on, but like kind of started to see I think when I started to realize, like, got into punk and introduced to punk and started to see a whole DIY kind of ethic, it started really to make sense to me. And the fact that something that was really like these rock stars on posters, suddenly it was something that was very attainable and like right there, and you could do it yourself. And that was I think that was probably a real breakthrough, like just getting into punk rock.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and I think it can, and whether you're playing like specifically punk style music, or whether it's just the idea of punk and the fact that you can do stuff yourself. Because it's more the mindset. Because I've had like DJs that have come up and said, you influenced me, and I'm from a small town, but it was more about what Fuzigish, how we were doing things in a DIY way, that was an influence.
I think that's very important, you know, as well as being, you know, in a band, a successful band, but, you know, inspiring other people like that and showing them that it's easy to make music. You know, I think that's more important than anything else, really.
It's very rewarding when people like tell you that kind of thing, you know. It's like, wow. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole side of it, because that's I didn't realize, you know, that power that you could like actually, you know, influence people in that way, and have such a positive influence, which is great. I mean, I've had like a guy that was on the like not the pro circuit, like I guess it's the semi-pro golf circuit or something, that was like, I listen to, you know, your one song Upper Hand every time I'm about to play a round of golf. I was like, I never expected that, you know. Yeah. but it amps him up, and so you never know where your music lands up and how it can. So yeah, that's been an amazing thing, and to see and to hear.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you've addressed it multiple times over the years, and the story is that nobody can remember. But is there anything you can give me about where the name came from?
It was one of those. It's a little bit like the album title, no, but it's a bit different than the album title in a way that it was a weekly thing of what was the name of the band last week? I can't remember. What did we call it? Okay. And then the one week came back and said, what did we call the band last week? It was like, Fuzigish. Hey, we remember that name, you know, like this is there's something here, you know. And so we originally spelled it like you would say it, you know, like properly. If you say, but then we went and recorded, and for some reason the guy that was recording us just put it Fuzi.
You decided to pump it up a bit.
Yeah, and we just went with it, you know. It was cool, you know. And I've had people come up and go, you know, that's not how you say the name if you were spelling it, but whatever. But so they're really, when it comes to the name, it was really a name that we just managed to remember, and we thought, I call this. We'll give it meaning. We'll give it some meaning, you know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But it was basically a memorable name, yeah.
Right. It's definitely one of the more unique names, anyway.
It's I remember one guy saying, "You guys are just fans of Fugazi, aren't you?" You know. I was like, well, maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. Okay. So there's actually, it was just one of those things that we could remember. And after you guys released your first EP, you ended up being added to the main stage of a festival.
That must have been the point where you felt like all your hard work was paying off.
No, that was the point where we're like, oh shit, what have we done? What have we done now? What are we doing now? We're going to go into this big stage. I've never been into this giant stage. We're playing after a band that's established and nobody knows us. Oh my God, they buy to their drum kit and we're going to go on. Okay, like, how are we going to do this? So it was amazing to be offered. The opportunity was amazing, but the moment before it was like nerve wracking and scary. But it definitely was like, yeah, it was like like, oh, you're doing something good,
Mm.
So or you're doing something, maybe you're going in the right direction, or but it's great to get that offer. Yeah, it was exciting, and then it turned into fear.
I could imagine.
and like when you're a band that's like been playing your buddies' parties and small kind of little places that weren't supposed to be stages, but now just happen to have become a stage. You used to play right next to each other, and you can sit, and now you get on the stage. Suddenly, your bass friend is like down there somewhere. He's got his whole old monitor. The drummer is like way back. You just don't know how to fill that space up. It's just so alien and frightening. And then they tell you there's a monitor engineer on the left, and you go like, first of all, there's monitors, and there's an engineer for those monitors. So it was definitely a steep learning curve, but it was also, I think after that, we kind of, half the band kind of moved along, and then two other members joined, and that was almost like gave us direction, and we knew what we wanted to do. Yeah.
If that kind of scared you a bit, then after the release of Southern Ska Stomper, and you guys decided to tour Europe, that must have really scared the crap out of you, did it?
I think we were too naive and to be scared. We just thought, oh, this is amazing, let's just go. Unaware that what a 7-week tour could do to a band that is used to playing on the weekends together.
Yeah.
It was scary. I think we went there unaware, and we came back with some life lessons. Yeah, I think first of all, I mean, the 7 weeks was, we didn't really think about it at the time, but it was crazy to do that. Really, It was way too long. And the whole thing was crazy, but it was another one of those. I mean, a lot of stories. We had a lot of there was supposedly a gig every night, but it didn't really pan out that way. And some of the places we went to were very hospitable, and they expected us. And other places were like, "You're going to play hits, and when, who, how?" We're like, "No, but we've got this." So it was really like, a baptism of fire. It was tough, and I think it was the highest moment and the lowest moment, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then after that, we also had a little bit of a lineup change. So these like big events, but I can. Luckily, the lineup hasn't changed for ages now. It's been a long time, but then we took too much stuff with us. We just were like never really toured like that before.
Yeah. And how did you find the European audience compared to the South African audiences?
The audiences were great. I mean, they bought a lot of more merch than we were used to, which is great. I mean, maybe that's just if you're coming through and you're, the difference between playing in your own kind of city constantly, or as opposed to coming through once a year. I guess that's what happens. And but generally the audiences were cool and receptive, and you meet a lot of. And what's cool about being, I always thought it was playing in a band, playing music or anything like this is you get to tour, go somewhere and be a tourist in a way that you enjoy. To see the things that you enjoy. From a from that thing, and then also just to get into some really bizarre and meet some bizarre people that you would never really meet. But this is great.
Yeah, yeah, I
you know,
get
you,
you.
uh, yeah. I mean, I remember like we landed at just yeah, like just the logistics of the whole thing was, but we're old enough to know that we went there before Google Maps was around. So the whole every town you went to was like get to the town center, get to the train station, and then figure it out from there. That was like our kind of how we would, because everything seemed to revolve around the train station. Whereas in Joburg or Johannesburg, I mean, we're always the city is like the place you don't want to go. You know, everybody's outside, like far away. So it was
Right.
like it's just the way it's just the way things developed here, and it's like it was cool, and it was looking at it, it was a lot of fun, and also like Bear Grylls would have been proud.
Oh man. Oh, and you guys also toured Australia as well.
Yeah, that was great. That was first of all we got friends of Rom who are really a big band in Australia, especially. They were like really they came over to South Africa. We kind of went on tour with them and showed them a good time and stuff. And then they invited us over to Australia, and we were hoping for the best, and it was better than we expected. It was like we got accommodation, like great accommodation, awesome shows. So had great shows and sold merch and made a lot of like fans and met a lot of cool people. So that was kind of like almost like the different experience.
Yeah, yeah.
but by then I think we had we had learned a bit from the first tour, and so we were ready for it, and that was really cool. Um, we went up the East Coast from Sydney all the way up to Cairns, and they took their own sound system with them. So and those, you learn so much from playing with like touring and just from playing with other bands. It's like especially like good bands. It's like I remember watching them every night, just like like never bored. Like just watching, wow, this is great. When you're watching a band play really well, that knows what they're about, it's such a joy to watch. So cool to watch it.
Yeah.
So with all those tours, it was definitely like great for us as a band just to learn, yeah, school of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. And one thing about Australia, though, is maybe I'm wrong now, but I'd imagine that the crowds, the audience, are very similar to South Africa. They're very laid back, kind of good weather.
Maybe I think so. Yeah, they were potentially. I think they could be a bit like South African crowds. They're maybe a little bit like. We swore a lot before we went, so we came back. We were swearing even more. It was like it took the level up there. And so from that point of view, maybe that was just hanging out with friends of Rom, I remember, and they were like they were always taking the piss out of us. Maybe they were maybe in that sense more like you guys over there or something. But so kind of a combination of the two. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And, us little innocent South Africans were like, oh, kind of, but we quickly caught on. But they were always taking the piss and having a good laugh. But they only take the piss out of us is because they actually enjoyed hanging out with us. Otherwise, we saw, otherwise it wouldn't be really much chatting. So we kind of realized that was a part of the fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit like that over here. The more we like someone, the more we'll take the piss out of them.
Yeah, and if you get, and some people might get like don't realize that they could get really like offended. No, I'm taking the piss out of you because it's actually I can't say I like you. Come on, man.
Exactly. Oh man.
Yeah, they were very funny like that. They were like, and they were also like like there were 3 vegans and a vegetarian in the band, and we were kind of like, we knew about maybe, 1 vegan we'd met once, and they were vegetarians. So like suddenly, like, into it, it was great. It was good fun.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Now, in your career as well, you while taking a break, you decided to, verge into a different side of the music industry, and you decided to form a booking agency called Punk Safari and try bring bands to South Africa. What was the idea behind that?
It's kind of like if we've got more chance of bringing bands we like over here to play with us than to try get onto their bill over there.
Right.
So and we thought, like, and it was like there wasn't any, like, it wasn't like a hugely strategic or something like that, but it was a case of, these are the bands we'd like to see here. We don't really see those kind of bands here. Let's see if we can do it. Maybe we can sell it somehow. Come on Safari. So try and sell it. So went over to Berlin, and met a man, Destiny tour booking, a man by the name of David Pollack, and chatted to him, and he was basically, he does a lot of the Fat Wreck bands and those kind of bands from the States coming through, and a whole lot of local bands and stuff at that stage, and managed to convince him. And luckily, he, we hanged. I remember we went to watch Satanic Surfers, and we're hanging out and stuff. And it's it's like in the music world, it's kind of like you got to take a chance. So, and he was like, he said, this guy, maybe I can send a band to South Africa. Let me see. Luckily, he decided to do that. So that was so finally we could bring the bands down here that we liked for ourselves and just for our people that liked us. It was going to be a great thing, because it would just be an introduction and into those kind of circles and also just to see the level, how they operate, how they do things. So we sent down Lagwagon, and it was like, wow, this. It's like it was a lot of work.
I'd imagine.
and a lot of risk involved, because obviously there's things happen, and but it worked out, and it made some great friends through that. And also we once again, it helped us to be a better band, just to see like the level.
Yeah, exactly. With all the hard work involved, once it was over, were you kind of like, oh God, let's never do that again, and just sticking to being a performer? Or
it was a bit like that after the 4th band. So we did, and I enjoyed them all, and I loved them all, but they were stressful, and there were like a lot of work and logistics, and you suddenly on the other side of it. Yeah. And I was like, I just want to create and play. I'm tired of looking after. I want to be on the other side. Yeah. It was like, because you got your energy is just going into promoting or supporting something else. And at that stage, it got to a stage where I was like, I know, I just want to, I want to just focus on creating again. And with all of us. Yeah. And so, and I think, so at the end of it all, it was like, we sometimes joked around about, hey, we'll bring over another band, but it's never really gone on. And to be honest, there's guys here that are since that time. There's guys here that are, the scene has grown a lot. Like there's bands that are coming over from from every level. It wasn't just like Bon Jovi and whatever. Like it's now all the bands right down. Through like up and coming bands, interesting new bands. Like it's much more like so, and there's guys that are doing it much better, who have really, like, that's their thing now. That's their so it was kind of like we did our thing, and there was enough of that. we'll let somebody else do it, and also we'll hopefully get to play with them.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, yeah, because there was a stage, I think, when South Africa like started opened up again, and there was because you got to remember at a certain stage it was all what is it, a band, not banned specifically, but there was trying to think of what they call it, the sanctions, and so we didn't really see. I mean, the fact that David Essex came to South Africa was, was like a rarity. It was like there was
Yeah.
a few that didn't adhere to whatever was kind of the policies and stuff. But so when South Africa became a democracy and opened up, there was a flood of bands, but there was all these really mega bands, like just really, the Rolling Stones and like you're really the big bands, and there wasn't any interest, like anything in between. So now it's changed, but yeah, it was a little bit like we need to get some of those bands that we like over.
I get you.
And not that I don't like the Rolling Stones. I love the Stones, but yeah.
No, I completely know what you mean.
Yeah.
And as a concert goer yourself, what concerts would you say have made you as a musician?
Ooh, and the concerts that made us. It's a tricky one to say. I think I remember going to watch Johnny Clegg with my brother. He was a big local artist who combined like pop, like kind of Western pop, I guess, with Zulu traditional music, and kind of that was really. And my brother is older than me, so yeah, I went to his university, and he was playing there, and I remember watching that and the power of it all, and realizing the what was cool, when you see an artist that's like it's home, it's your place. It's trying to, because a lot of the time South Africa, you emulating the UK or emulating the States or something like this, but to actually have context of your own, and bringing that in, that was very important, and a very important part of the Fuzigish is to realize, it's not no use imitating, or like we have to have local. It has to be local, like it has to have reference or relevance to our situation here.
Yeah, true.
And that'll make it interesting to people overseas as well. We didn't see that. I think we were just a bit kind of brought up through apartheid, and it was like you're just embarrassed about apartheid, so you didn't want to do anything to do with South Africa. But then when things opened up and changed, now hey, we can be proud. We can be, we can show the world things.
Yeah, I get you.
That was very important to see that. And another one that I remember really well was this guy called Ernest Ranglin, who came over and he played at this jazz club called the Baseline. It was a very small little jazz club, but he was this amazing jazz guitarist, but he played like ska jazz, or what you call it, I guess. And if anybody's out there, go look for Ernest Ranglin, and it's Below the Baseline. It's one of my favorite albums. And just to, when you lack upon something that you're not expecting, and you just like blown away, and you take it and think about it, and it's been with me ever since. It's a big inspiration of my guitar style and everything. So yeah, that was a great one. And I mean, there's been a few others. I'm trying to think now, but I'll go with those two for now. Yeah.
Perfect. Very, very interesting answers, actually. Especially, I've never heard of the genre ska jazz. I'll definitely have to look that up myself.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of that. If there's one thing you get from, if there's one artist to go check out, go check out Ernest Ranglin.
Yeah. And on the other side of it, then, as performers, what concerts do you think have made you? What were some of the best experiences you've had throughout your career?
Yeah, the best ones are also that first one that we spoke of earlier. That was definitely terrifyingly great. And another one that was really good was I remember another it was this big stage as well. It was like this one, Violent Femmes came to play, and we got invited to open up, and it was in a huge place. It wasn't like the dome. It was massive, and I remember my guitar lead, like it was like stretched tight, like pulled tight into the amp. Like it was so. I was like, I couldn't move because if I moved forward, it would come out. It was like, the stage was. I didn't pack a lead that was big enough for the stage. It was like, so I always laugh about that because it's like also a lot of people that were there that like years later, like, oh, I saw you at that, and it was just really a big show, I guess. But generally, the best shows are those tight shows, smaller spots that are just crammed, and I call them like a sweaty mess, but it's really good.
Yeah.
I love those kind of shows, and we've had obviously there's a lot of those kind of shows, and played a lot of festivals on the side of the world. But yeah, there's too many to actually to say. I'm just thinking of all these different incidents because the craziest things happen in these when music grips people and they just go in that they do the craziest things. I remember being down in Port Elizabeth, which is like a long time ago now because it was still called Port Elizabeth, and this guy got on stage and he was going to stage dive, but he didn't do it like forward, he did it backwards and with his pants down, which is I've never seen a backwards pants down stage dive before.
No.
Like, it stuck with me forever. I was like, well, I'm not going to see that again. Thank God. No, it was like, so those kind of moments are like, yeah, those are like funny because people get into, they just do crazy things. And a lot of the time I find like we feed off, like the energy of this is really like I'd say symbiotic. That's right. It's like just this energy that we put in out energy, people are giving energy back, and it just goes around and around and around. And it's amazing that's where it goes, where it gets to,
Yeah.
So
what I always find interesting is that people that aren't in bands or aren't touring musicians would assume that all musicians love playing the massive stages with the big festivals, the big arenas, But I find 99% of musicians actually prefer the smaller clubs up close and personal with the crowd. And as you said, the sweaty mess.
Yeah. I think there's like a prestige or like a glamour or something about playing a big stage, and it's fine. But yeah, to really get it's the intimacy of it all, and just like it's almost like that's where it comes from. That's like the source.
Yeah.
Of it all. Yeah. No, I think so. And some of the most memorable shows have been watching them or playing them have been in smaller venues.
Yeah, I get you. And not to get too negative now, but I always ask this one. It goes with the good, so we have to have the bad. What would be some of the worst experiences you've had, and how did you overcome them?
I remember like setting up for a show, and it was like also a horse betting tab, and we were setting up and we're doing sound check, and the guy was like, one of the pundits, out the way, I'm trying to watch the horses, and you're like, okay, I'll just stand on the side here. feeling like you're just in the way, and that's and that just comes. Those are the early days of stuff. Sometimes that can be like a bit like or like if you're trying to think, there's more, definitely. Just trying to think what they are at the moment. I just always remember the tab because I just remember like when you're setting, especially when you're a young band, like, and you kind of nervous, you're kind of confident, but you're not really that confident. And one person says one thing, and it can throw you right off,
Yeah.
And you got to try it. I mean, or like you'd be playing and somebody make a mistake in the band, and you like all stare at each other, but you realize like down the line, you like, now we play like nobody even flinches, you just carry on going, like, because it doesn't really, none of that. It doesn't matter, like you're the only people that are really caring these things. So when it comes to nightmare gigs, the worst gigs are usually to do with technical issues. Like if something doesn't work because it's like beyond my control, or I can't, like I remember, for example, playing a show in Cape Town. It was like the last song, and there was this like, like you amazing moment. And then as I went to hit the distortion and go into this huge moment, that like there was cable had come out. And it was like, ah.
Oh man.
So in those cases now I just sing the part that I was going to play. Actually I did that once with a guitar solo as well. I just totally kind of blanked out on the solo, so I just sang it. And that's why I'd say like you should try it if you're going to write any solo parts or anything like that. You should be able to hum them or sing them. It helps.
Very good advice.
Yeah, you're going to be a lot of the time you just got to be nimble on your feet, agile, just and then because I mean, like, we can get away with a lot if people are on your side, because I kind of realized along the way, like at first you used to always feel like the audience was like, like somehow judging you, but then I figured out they're on your side, they're there to watch you, they're actually, they want you to do, they're there. They're on your side.
Exactly.
I want you. It's not like, and then there was like, oh no, that's good. Just remember that they're on your side.
Yeah, they're there to see you. They're there. They've spent their money to actually go to you. So
exactly. And if you're nervous, they get nervous, And if they get, so it's just like it works like that. Sometimes it's like, but generally, I mean, those are a few, and those are kind of like technical issues are my worst. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, I get you.
And I'm kind of stuck behind a microphone, and I've got a guitar, a few pedals. I've narrowed my pedals down because of the technical. I just wanted to be simple. But I can't move out the way. So when people start jumping all over or throwing things, like you just like, I'm stuck there.
Oh man,
duck and dive.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this guy once in Durban, he jumped out on stage, and I think he was well intended. I mean, best intentions and all that stuff. Like this kind of punk kid jumped up on stage with a beer, and I was trying to sing a song. He started take this beer bottle, putting it down my throat, and I'm just like, and I can't get out. I was so that was a really bad experience. Actually, I was really ended up. I was like, get the I was like, so I was like, what the hell? Who does that? Anyway. He thought he was he was obviously anyway, and nobody seemed to really didn't seem to bother anybody else. That was the other thing I think. Was like, does anybody see what's going on here?
You're just kind of standing there wondering why people aren't reacting.
Like this guy's like basically like they're shoving a bottle down my throat. I got a guitar, I'm trying to sing. He thinks he's doing a great thing. He's pretty drunk, but it's hey, let's carry on.
Oh god.
I got over that experience. Yeah. That's it, yeah. A song later, back into that,
A true professional.
Yeah, you gotta exactly. Keep an eye out for that, just like watching. To see if it comes near. I think he was pretty bleak. He thought I'd somebody who was like, I've been waiting for this gig the whole day, and now you've been an idiot arsehole to me on stage. Like, okay, this guy's some people you're never going to be able to work with. Exactly, relate to.
And we'll move on to this year. It's your 25th anniversary. What's it like being in a band 25 years later compared to when you begin?
25 years. It's still, I think it's still exciting. It's still enjoying music. It's still finding out new things, which is interesting to do that journey, because the music. I mean, just as a general thing, it's just so much, so many things to discover. Potentially, hopefully, you can handle stage and people like crazy people a bit better. Hopefully, playing a bit better, I would say. Yeah, so generally, still loving music but playing better. Really, that's
It's a good motto.
and not too. Yeah, and yeah, I think I see now like it's almost like therapy. Hey, I mean, which is great band name. Hey, um, unfortunately, it was taken a long time ago. But
True.
that's really it's true. It's music is like that. I often think of it like that. Like for me, it's really. I mean, sometimes it's the opposite of therapy, but it can be it can be great like that. And it's such a cool combination of like this technical mathematical side and then this creative side. Uh, so so after 25 years, I can say not much wiser, but still enjoying it.
Brilliant, brilliant. And at this stage in your career, after accomplishing so much, it would seem like, you've reached the top. But at this stage, what do you guys want to accomplish, or what do you guys have left that you dream about?
Well, I think we've like, as far as in South African terms, yeah, we kind of done a lot in South where we've traveled overseas, but we really haven't gone a lot overseas since for a while. And I think what we need to do is just to set out is to go over to Europe, I think, again, and basically go there once every year for 3 weeks and do some touring, international touring, because we've basically let's say we've done well in South Africa in South African terms, but there's a whole world out there that we need to. So I think for us, we really want to set ourselves a goal of doing a yearly international tour, and and um, and that'll also motivate us and keep us going.
Yeah, yeah, that's possibly the best plan you could have. I love that idea. You really do need to come over here to Europe so we can actually see you live.
Definitely, definitely. I think it'll. We really want it. So hopefully next year.
Brilliant, brilliant. And for the rest of the year, then, do you have anything locked into place? Any plans?
There's some shows around here. Yeah, there's Halloween stuff and there's New Year's stuff that's coming up now. But yeah, we've got a bunch of shows that are coming up. So it's all around here, and so we'll be playing a lot this year, and then yeah, into the new year, and we'll figure out which of these new songs are the ones that are going to make the cut, that are going to like become permanently entrenched in the set list.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and so that's basically playing a lot, and then potentially writing some new tracks, which is always great. More about that next year. Yeah,
it won't be
yeah, not 10 years until we write another album. We'll try to keep it down to 2.
I was just going to say, yeah. And we'll move on to the last set of questions. Everybody gets these, I'm afraid. So
okay.
If there was a band or performer from history you could see in concert for one night only, who would it be?
Go with Bob Marley. I mean, I know that a name everybody knows and it's not obscure.
That doesn't matter.
I know, but I mean, yeah, Bob Marley. Kaya is I love that album. It's one of my top 10 albums. So yeah, I'd love to see that.
That would be that'd be pretty great. It's actually surprisingly enough not an answer I've had before. I don't think he has, and he's one of them legendary performers. You'd assume he'd pop up very often, but I think that's the first time I've heard Bob Marley mentioned.
Oh well, hey, there we are. Definitely.
Yeah. And if you could spend 24 hours locked inside a room with any performer or artist from history, who would it be?
24 hours would be. Well, I mean, I can't go with Bob Marley again. There's probably a rule that says you can't use the same name. But in that case, and I'd love to say John Lennon, but I just got a feeling that he'd be really miserable. I don't know. He's really brilliant, but I think he'd be intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, I think I would have to go with come on Jay, think of something. No, I've gone a little bit blank now. I'm looking around me for like inspiration of somebody I used to I'd like to hang out with like Tim Armstrong from Rancid for
Right,
a
right.
day. I think he'd be really interesting. I think he's songwriter. He's a songwriter, so it'd be great.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. You'd get some
Yeah,
great insights.
yeah, and he's worked with like so he does everything, and I think would definitely be educational.
That's for sure.
In
That's
many
for sure.
ways.
Yeah, yeah. And the final one then, if there was a song that could appear on the soundtrack to your life, what would it be?
That's a soundtrack to my life. Should I stay? No, that's too early. Something by the Clash. I think it would be Guns N' Bricks, and it'll be good. I like that tune.
Another one I haven't heard before.
Love the bass line.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it'll be good.
Brilliant.
I'm glad I managed to give you a few nuances.
Yeah, exactly. You've been very original.
Thanks.
Well, Jay, it's been an absolute pleasure. I don't think I've laughed that much on the podcast in a very long time.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. Thanks a lot. It's awesome to chat, and appreciate it, man.
No problem. And all the best for the rest of the year, and hopefully I'll see you over in Europe at some stage next year.
Yeah, that'll be great. And as I say, that's the plan. So hopefully.
Hello everyone, I am Matthew Thomas, the spirit of Super Cool Radio, and if you're looking for a great podcast that features the best independent and up-and-coming bands and artists, then check out my podcast, Super Cool Radio. Each week I deliver fun interviews, and every Friday I spin some killer music. You might not know some of these bands that I feature, but I guarantee you will love them. Check out Super Cool Radio on YouTube, Rumble, Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, or the streaming platform of your choice. Tune in and rock out!
Super Cool Radio.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I for one surely did. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate and review us on iTunes. Your 5-star review will be read out on the show. And don't forget, you can now rate us on Spotify. You can find and follow us on all social media at Concerts That Made Us Podcast. And don't forget to check out the website at www.concertsthatmadeus.com. And if you'd like to support the show, you can do so by signing up at patreon.com/Concerts That Made Us. So, until next time, keep rocking. Hey, what are you guys still doing here? The show is over. It's over. You can go home. Go on. We'll see you next time. We'll be here. Bye.